friends. Welcome to the Meet with VFX Experts. Here we have with us today Ms. Theresa Ellis Rygiel. She is a post-visual effects and compositing supervisor. She has conducted the master class on visual effects on 25th November in IFFI. She began her career as a developing artist at New York Institute of Technology's Computer Graphics Lab. And she's been a very active member in Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences Academy from 1997. In 1993, she opened her own computer animation company, and she worked on several motion pictures, including Rygiel, Waterworld, and she won Clio Award for her work in Neon Cowboy. She has served as visual effects supervisor on the set with several pictures like Nativity Story in Italy and Morocco, and Martian Child in Vancouver, Warner Brothers Conspiracy Theory, Stepmom in New York, and X-Men in Toronto for 20th Century Fox. While at Vita Digital in New Zealand, Rygiel advanced from senior composer on The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, to working as digital effects supervisor on the final film of the trilogy, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Her composite supervisor credits also include some features like Fast 5, Oblivion, Night of the Museum, Battle at the Smithsonian. In recent years, she has moved into the studio production offices as post-visual effects supervisor and compositing supervisor on the Guardians of the Galaxy, Furious 7, Ben-Hur, Joy, Marvel's Doctor Strange, and currently at Universal on Fast 8. We'll now hear from Senthil Rajan sir. He is a director, Directorate of Film Festival, about this meet.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's a privilege and honor to have Theresa Madam here for us, and it's part of our collaborative efforts with the Oscar Academy that she is here. And this year, as I had already mentioned, we are actually expanding our partnership with the Oscar Academy, and we've had the privilege of having more than 6 international experts conducting the master classes. And the one on VFX yesterday, I had the privilege of having been there and listened to her class, and it was totally packed, and that itself reflects the fact and the interest that all the delegates have shown. And I'm really happy that we've been able to see packed master classes for all the sessions this year. And it will be our endeavor to increase see how well we can increase our master classes, and also oriented towards the programming that we do at IFFI. Even otherwise, I think the work that she has done, Arun has mentioned, includes some of the biggest films that have been done in recent times. And yesterday she had mentioned that her favorite work was Lord of the Rings. And I think it was one of our favorite films also. My kid doesn't miss watching that film whenever she watches it. So I think I'll ask her to make her opening remarks, and then we can go ahead with the questions. Please.
Okay, am I on? Thank you very much. I don't know if this is turned on quite yet.
It's on.
Ah, hello.
It's on.
It's very technical. I thank you very much for inviting me to the festival. I'm excited to be here. Again, I'm representing the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Visual Effects branch, and I have been a member since 95, 97, and part of the executive committee choosing our annual Best Pictures of the Year, visual effects, accomplishments in visual effects. So most of what we have been interested in the last number of years is creating more of a dialogue between the visual effects and the other branches. There's editorial. We work a lot with on film productions. We work a lot with editorial. We work a lot with the cinematographers as well as directors. Visual effects is now part of the pre-planning stages with pre-visualization. We start with a script We are now moving into, well, we've already been on set working with the director and production, and then in final steps, post-visualization, where we now have the footage from the set that we were on set making sure we got, and then putting all that together as final frames, working with editorial to create the sequences and be able to have a film that is able to present to viewers for criticisms before the final is made. During that time, the post-production houses are able to do the final work. And as we step through the film, they are following with more final images. So I am very much now part of the planning of the final sequences and working with, like I say, the editorial, the directors. We're all in the same office at Marvel Studios, and for Doctor Strange, also for Guardians of the Galaxy, and also previously with Fast and Furious 7, and now Fast and Furious 8. So that's what I do. Is there anything else you'd like? I'm all ready for questions. Come sit up front.
Ma'am, how was the feedback from the masterclass yesterday?
Fantastic. The masterclass was an impressively large amount of people came to visit, which is fantastic. Visual effects is now seen in probably every movie out there. I think in the last 20 years, the top 50 films have been visual effects driven films. Well, let's just say top money-making films, top gross. So it was really exciting to see such a young and old, an audience of diverse interests, and I was happy to try to get everyone to be incorporated as much in the presentation as I could, so we have conversation and questions. So, which led into after the meeting, which was fun, even more questions. So I'm happy to help.
What inspired you to get into this field?
Yeah, good question. I come from a family of engineers and artists, so I'm a cross brain. I enjoy the technical as well as the creative. So I didn't know where to put this. This was the 1980s, and there was no such thing as visual effects. We created the name visual effects in the Academy probably around the years like 1997-ish, 98. So I didn't know where to put it. I thought I would be a graphic designer. So, but I enjoyed making things move in photography. So as soon as it began to apply to moving footage, then I became more interested. The New York Institute of Technology has a computer graphics lab, and this was again in 1983 to 86. I was there, and because the technology did not exist, it was still being made. I think Tron just came out, the first one. We began writing more software and hardware, and being an artist, they had me doing a lot of research and testing, and so it just flowed into more filmmaking. So it was a lot of fun, actually.
Hello, this is Fazan from Delhi. I'd like to ask, there are films which are VFX driven, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
There are characters like Groot and all. So how long does it take to shoot such a film? From your point of view, like VFX and all.
Well. I was on the show for about a year. A lot of the principal photography had already been shot, but had just finished up. So I think most films, you can shoot in 1 to 2 months, probably 2 months, with planning, hopefully, really good planning. By the time I get onto the show, they are in a very fast pace. Editorial has already started putting shots, the sequences together, and they are asking me to create these team of up to 18 people, artists, where I try to organize them to do help build our shots for the sequence. So there's a lot of pre-viz, post-viz. We have cameras from set. We sometimes still create new cameras for reshoots. We, for Groot and Rocket, we're doing a lot of animation is being developed. Now that we have the footage, the previs, which they thought was the right way to go, so they shot the plates, is now being, the new animation is being applied. So it's a very long process. I think it took us about a year for just that section of it before we were able to do final images. And we stay right on to the end for, 1 month before the film comes out in theaters. Yeah.
Ma'am,
You got trumped.
so your work mostly starts in the post-production. So does your director discuss script with you so that he'll know till how extent he can use the visual effects that
Okay. Yes, we usually, yes, well, I am primarily in the post, but to get what I need, I am already speaking with pre-visualization. I work for a previs, with a previs and post-vis group, so we start already from the script organizing what the sequences are, what they expect to see, where they want to go with this. When they do finally have the final production work in the office, this is when I would jump in. Now, sorry, can we just ask me my question again, please?
Does the director discuss?
Yes,
script
sorry.
So that he'll know how, till what extent he can use the visual effects.
Yes. Okay, so what I do is I work a lot with people I've already worked with. So my supervisors, we've all known each other from previous shows. We already know and expect what we can do. The director is in our office with us in another room, and we have daily reviews. And the director often shows up in the reviews as well and discusses the sequences, what he's seeing, where he discusses before where he wants to go with the sequence. Like in Guardians of the Galaxy, we created a sequence where there were many fight sequences, but we did not have any of the footage of the fighting. We didn't have footage of the backgrounds, the environments, but he needed this sequence for the movie. So we began planning out and working with the director, planning what cameras, how big the environment will be. So we're working with them, designing environments, designing the set, designing the flow of the scene. And then they will take those cameras that we've set up in the environment that we have built and bring all that to set. And so this was all at Disney, so they have stages, and they brought everything to the set, and we're, again, still working with the director the entire time, and the director is, James Gunn was shooting, okay, this is what we decided, here's your room. You're allowed to punch each other over there, then over there, back there, here's the previs. When it's shot, we get it back, and we don't need the director now. So it's scanning in feeding in the background plates. New camera is created for tracking. Animation is laid over top of that. The cameras are given to the environment people on the computer. They're given to the animation people on the computer, and they're creating their work. And then eventually we put them together, and then we hand it to the post company, like Industrial Light and Magic, or was one of the clients, many other ones, Digital Domain, I think many other studios. So, and then the director has been reviewing each one of these shots before it delivers, and then the director begins to review what comes from the post houses. So very, very involved the entire time. Yes, very exhausting.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask that VFX are about showing things which are not there.
Yes.
So are there any ethical issues involved regarding VFX? How much can you show?
It's funny. Actually, you reminded me of a commercial that was done maybe 20 years ago. What the commercial is about is a whale is swimming through an airplane, and it's all take place underwater. The whale was at the time beautiful. You know, everything was caustics were created, and the plane I think is real, but the whale and things, and it was all shot and put together digitally. It's actually kind of funny because the whale looked so perfect. They thought that it was a real whale, and they sent many letters in saying, "You can't do this to whales." You know, it's very different. You know, that's crazy. So they had to explain, no, this is not a whale. And when we shot on Lord of the Rings, the battle scenes with the horses, and the horses would be shot, and they would be galloping and then tumble. As it turns out, a lot of horses like to do stunts. And we didn't make them do it. You've seen parrots dancing and talking, and they have fun. So we have trainers that involve, we only pick up where it becomes difficult. So if a person is being thrown through a glass window and he falls 3 stories, he's not really falling 3 stories. So we are helping more than hurting. We're helping say, okay, you only have to go this far and then we will take it from there. So the horse will gallop. He likes to stumble. I've never seen that before. It's the weirdest thing. Horses that like to tumble. But, you know, he will tumble and then it's like, okay, we take it from there. You know, then we make him stay. He's hurt or whatever. But yeah, we usually help the ethics more than hurt. So, yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
We saw cinema or a film moving from 2-dimensional to the 3-dimensional. Now virtual reality is coming up. So how do you foresee the human experience about the cinema or the film? Like a future, like there is a digital effects, there is VFX. So how do they would contribute to the newer kind of human experience about the films?
That's a really good question. What we're doing, well, they're all very good questions, but this one is very topic right now. Okay, so when we moved to 3D actually was 50 years ago. People experimenting. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is constantly reviewing current technologies. They are awarding current technologies at their Science Technology Council every year. These advancements in film only help the artist in their creation of their vision. With 3D, it was just a lot of fun to experiment with, honestly. I think it's a new toy, and it was fantastic. We're still able to tell our stories, and now we don't want to shoot 3D anymore. It's too expensive. A lot of 3D is now done in post. So one thing that VR is introducing is very interesting. I have a 19-year-old son in college learning gaming. When we create virtual, I have to say I don't think it's going to completely collide with filmmaking in the sense that you may think. You guys will not be in a theater with goggles on in the same, and experiencing what you see in the same way that you can now experience a film. If you're in a movie now and there's emotion on the screen, you hear the audience, you know, gasp or cry or you're like, you know, it's all a lot of interactive fun. If you're in virtual reality, it opens the door to each person having a different experience. If you're going down a track, you may choose to go to the left and look around you. Your person next to you may choose to go into the next room and look around. To me, this is storytelling. A lot of filmmakers, and I tried to use Robert Stromberg as a good example. He's a filmmaker, Maleficent, he's a director. He also has a matte painting, digital arts background. So he is able to, and he's in the visual effects branch, but he is able to apply his abilities to create environments and visions and all in a virtual reality world. Those worlds are then translated to games or feature experiences. And I see this as, in my opinion, a different tool to storytelling, but different in its your viewer's experience. So I see it as another tool, and I hope to see it grow.
Just to add to what he said, I had an interaction with one of the directors, and the director felt that virtual reality actually leads to the director losing control over his audience, because the audience has the choice of looking wherever they want to.
Yes, they do. Yeah, you can't make the viewers move their head.
That was the message that he would like to convey. So what is your view on that?
It's true. Also, right now, working a lot with editorial, I see what they have to experience. Editors are very careful with where they want you to look and then stop looking and go somewhere else. This takes the editorial part almost out of filmmaking. You get to make your own edit. I think that's great. It's a different experience. I prefer both. I also like to just sit back and relax and understand someone telling me their story, rather than me driving their story. So, I mean, again, a different experience, I think. So I don't think they'll take over or collide. I think that'll expand into another world of entertainment. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Introduce your name.
Premdas,
Hi.
I just want to know, so cinema of total experience means through five senses, as we see reality around, it's going to be reality, because nowadays actually we are working on the audio visual part of the thing. Cinema of total experience, cinema experiencing all the five senses, with all the five senses, is it going to be reality soon?
I think they're trying. When you go to amusement parks, for instance, and I just I'm at Universal Studios now, and on Fast and Furious 8, and we took a lunch break to the Harry Potter exhibit. I had so much fun. So my fellow 2 or 3 artists, we all went and sat in this virtual experience. 5 senses. We saw, it was amazing, right? In 3-dimensional, you had to wear goggles the whole time. It was very interesting. You know, the hearing it, you feel this experience because you're flying. They fly you through as if you're on the broom going around Harry Potter's school. I don't know if we can taste it, though. I hope not. It definitely smells funny in there. So.
But we already had aroma cinema, right?
Yeah, I did.
It didn't work.
Yeah, it's true. What was the aroma? The scratch and sniff movies? What is the director's name from Pink Flamingos? And it's pretty funny, actually, right? Yeah. Oh. But anyway, yeah, there's scratch and sniff movies, which is kind of fun. When I was in college, we would go to some of these films. It was a lot of fun. So each time, I think they try something new, a little more experience. I've seen movies where, I'm trying to remember this beautiful movie from Thailand, but you see, you hear, but the visuals were so beautiful, and the sound was so well mixed that you could taste the food and you could smell, the food, and it was a beautiful movie. So. Chocolat is very much like this too. You get starving by the time you're leaving the movie theater. Chocolate withdrawal symptoms. Any other questions? How many of you are filmmakers? Nobody. Okay. Okay, so visual effects is not going to go away. I think it's just. We've just worked on Ben-Hur, and we try to make sure that the effects look more flawless, realistic. And I worked with David O. Russell on Joy, and they were able to shoot in New England, Boston area, when there was snow. When the snow went away, they're still shooting. We had to then put snow in the movies. So. Movies I prefer are the ones that everything looks very realistic. You can't tell that we have done our job. set extensions, or something that will just accent the mood a bit, you know, maybe add a bit of snow, something to the foreground, something that's more realistic that you can't tell maybe in the background, atmospheric. So in Ben-Hur, we added a lot of smoke and whirling and crowds, and the sky, and the extension of the Colosseum is all computer animated, but we don't want you to say, oh, look, there's computer animation, there's special effects. So I think special effects now is just going to be the way to shoot. And unfortunately, some directors say, just shoot the guy in the chair. We'll put him on an airplane in post. I'm like, so it's good and bad. It's people needing to, it's great they know what you can do, but at the same time, I want to make sure that they still shoot what they need to shoot in camera is more realistic. So we'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
Any other questions? So we conclude this meet, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.